Hi,
Hey,
everybody.
hi everyone, and hi Patrick. Finally, we're gonna
Yeah,
have our live stream session together. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. I'm in Italy.
I'm in Amsterdam. Oh, so nice. How's the weather there?
It's actually it's been really nice, very warm. But I'm leaving just after this call, actually.
Are you going back to the UK?
Yes, back to rainy London.
Yeah, well, rainy Amsterdam. Well, it's sort of okay today, but I
Mhm.
think we're both in countries where there's a lot of rain. But hey, who cares? We're always inside designing anyway. So
Yeah. I know.
uh,
Um,
should we
okay,
just start with a quick introduction? Like I of course know who you are a bit, but tell me
yeah,
everything and tell everyone who's watching.
yeah. So I'm Patrick McDowell. I live in London and I was born in Liverpool, which is a northern city in the UK, which is famous for its peacock style of dressing when people go out to the clubs. And it's all about the shortest or the longest dress, the highest heels, the most makeup, the biggest hair, that kind of thing.
Nice.
And that's a big inspiration in the work that I do. It's quite maximalist. Um, I work with I studied at Central St. Martin's in London, and during that time, I interned at Burberry for a year and saw a lot of the waste issues that were going on and the way the fashion industry's business model doesn't really make much sense anymore. And then that all led into kind of like a catalyst of me doing a graduate collection, which became it was created from kind of waste material from Burberry's previous show, and yeah, I think just graduated at a time when sustainability was starting to go up up on the curve faster and faster, and
When did you graduate?
not long. Well, it feels like a lifetime ago, but it was only 3 years ago or 2 years
Ah,
ago.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it's quite recent. Yeah, and then since then, I did another show at Helsinki last year, which was based on my family again. And then on Monday is my third collection, which is Catholic Fairy Tales, which is at 6:15 British Standard Time, and that's my first, and I think your also first digital show.
Yes.
So I think we're similar in the sense because I work with companies, waste fabrics to create kind of one-off or very small quantity pieces that are kind of all made very locally, and it's very much an analog process. It's very kind of hands-on. So yeah, this was all very new to me, but I'll let you introduce yourself too.
No, it's really nice, really nice. I didn't know you were from Liverpool actually, but okay. Well, I'm Tess, designer based in Amsterdam. I graduated a lifetime ago. It was 2012, but I took a bit of a different path when I graduated. I graduated here in Amsterdam at fashion school. um, did multiple things with my graduation collection, of course, and everyone sort of expected me to run my own business, and I was really against it because we have so many labels. So I first wanted to explore a bit more who I was as a designer and what I can do to sort of make it a better place or a better industry to work in. So I did multiple freelance jobs, did basically everything just to learn more, to see processes, and to really interact more with crafts indeed. And so from bags to lingerie to swimwear, everything. Then only I think 4 years ago, I just did it. I just started my own label. I now am going to launch my fifth collection. Of course, also the digital one. But I started off at Amsterdam Fashion Week here locally. And that's something I really believe in crafts and local craftsmanship and collaborating. So that's why this, even though it's through a screen, I think is really interesting to connect with more people all over the world. I'm quite stuck to my own roots, so that also makes my world sometimes really small. And I experienced with this so far, at least, that like through the internet and through digital design, like the world is all of a sudden open. Of course, we already knew that, but for me personally, that was a nice experience. And I agree that I think I really like that you're also working with upcycled materials. And I think you have a very clear sort of couture kind of signature that I really like. And I think that is also something really new, to have that weird clash of upcycled materials and then putting them completely in a different way together. I think that is really charming. And I think that's something that is similar to our work, that we're with different crafts, different compositions, we're trying to create new things. Or am I completely in the dark here?
No, I agree. I think it's always really, I think because of that, that's what made this digital process really interesting as well, because for me it was the first time I ever had free reign over how much fabric, the color, the way, like you can control every single thing so just for people that don't know, if I only get 2 meters of a certain fabric from Burberry, then I can only use 2 meters of that fabric and then it's gone. So
yeah.
So those restrictions usually, I think they actually help my design process, because I kind of go through a second design phase. I'm sure you're similar, and then you kind of have to end up changing things and making it something else. So this was a really interesting thing, because suddenly I could use as many meters as I wanted of any fabric in my exact color, which usually are all things that come with loads of minimum order quantities and high cost, and also very difficult to source in a sustainable way, especially if you're kind of more in the kind of upcycling world, like reimagining world. So digitally, I found that really fascinating, but also really found it interesting that it was quite respectful of the pattern cutting and kind of sewing knowledge that you had to have to create the garments, even digitally. I think if you did, I don't know if you found it the same, but I was quite shocked at really how much of my knowledge of physical sewing and pattern cutting had to come into the digital space. Because I said this yesterday as well, but when you don't understand something, you imagine it's going to be really quick. It's like most people, they think anything they don't understand, they think, oh, it's super easy to do that. And then you try and do it, and 3 weeks later, you're still trying to like do the first thing. So I think it's similar that way, but I mean, it was a normal fitting of a garment, looking at the digital things and the way you kind of had to tweak it. I think the only thing is that the alterations were faster.
Yeah.
I don't know how you found. How did you find? Because I don't know if had you already designed the collection with the view that you were going to use upcycled material?
Well, I started working on this collection like concept-wise somewhere in the beginning of this year. So I had a sort of vibe going on where I wanted to go, and I am sort of collecting always materials. So whatever is what you just said, whatever is in my atelier, I'm just going to use it. And that was also this case. But then, of course, we went completely digital, and all of a sudden we had to hand in our designs. And it was because, of course, like an entire digital atelier has to build whatever you're trying to create. So for me, the creative part was, normally it's like months, and I even like the show is within a few days. I would design another outfit just now, like a few days before the show, of course. That's me. Last minute, of course, and then all of a sudden the closing looks comes out of my sleeve, like that's it. But no, that was not the case. So for me it was really all of a sudden the creative process was super short and it needed to be super organized. And yeah, exactly what you say. You have to translate it to another person, and all of a sudden you're not in charge, and you're trying to find a nice communicative way that works. But though it felt super weird, all of a sudden I had to think about, oh yeah, I have to explain this and this and this. And normally that's a very natural feeling for me. So yeah, it was, the creative process was very short, but I think this entire program that they set up is super short, and it's almost like a mad job, like how they did this all together. Yeah, and I think indeed, I think the sort of it almost felt like I was working with a normal atelier who I could share, like, okay, this needs to be sewn like this needs to be done like this, and then this material, etc., etc. But I don't do productions. I don't know if you do productions, but for me it's the same. Whatever I have, if it's old wedding dresses, I just have to make something with it, and then maybe it's half a top, and then I'm just taking it apart and recreating something with it, and then that's it. That's the only thing that I have. I can't reproduce it or anything. So it all goes through my hands here in the atelier. So it was really weird feeling to sort of give your creative baby to someone and then just, okay, create it, please. I don't know, did you have the same, or were you much more in control and more eased at giving it to someone else?
No, I had a similar. It was quite odd because like you say, it felt like all the creative part was done really early, and then it
Yeah.
just like left, and then it just left. And
Yeah.
I was like, well, what about, like, what about this? What about this? And because, like you say, usually it is very much you are still creating things right up until the last,
Yeah.
moments, and everything changes and evolves, and you're, if you, in your head the show is in July, then
Yeah.
and you're in April, in your head you're like, well, I can still develop this. It's like cooking a stew, you the longer you
Yeah.
cook it, the more
Yeah.
it kind of fits together. And so yeah, I found it very strange. So, but quite similar in a way to how you might work in a bigger company where you might actually
Indeed.
kind of just, you just send things away and they kind of arrive back finished. And so I think in a way it was similar-ish to the way we'd worked at Burberry, in a way, because you kind of, obviously the main production isn't done in their offices, so that was interesting. But yeah, I haven't been there for like since 5 years, so
Yeah.
and also I think it's important to mention as well, we were going through a global pandemic during all of this, so like I
Yeah.
think even just like waking up every day was pretty a really good
So
job.
dramatic. is is this the Liverpool vibe you were talking about? Like every day I wake up, oh my god,
I was We're
I
still
love
in
it.
this horrible pandemic. No, but
No,
I do think, like, especially, I don't know how it was in Amsterdam, but in London it was really like not great. So I'm glad that things are, even if it's only for a short time, kind of coming out of
yeah,
the the lockdown and everything. But I think this is a really nice way to have still been able to create something in a way, even though we did have to kind of stay at home and all of that kind of
yeah,
thing.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, and I agree. Like, we just have to. I think it's admiring, at least, that in this weird lockdown we sort of forced ourselves to be creative and to create, even though it was a super short time. Um, but now, for me, at least, I don't know if you already started in actually making the collection in physical way. how is that then different? Like, are you using certain tools or certain techniques or certain things that you developed in the digital designing process for now, for the new collection, or how do you implement it, or not even
Was
also possible?
starting with the kind of same foundations, but there's just simple things that can't be done the same way. Like, I don't have 30 meters of the same color of silk to make a cape. Like, I just don't have it, so I can't do it. Like, and I and you know, I don't have 500 of the same type of Swarovski crystal because they're all kind of recycled ones. So it's fascinating with stuff like that. But I think that's also the real beauty of these kinds of things, is that they will be different but the same. They'll be like siblings, but slightly different, I think. And that, I think, is really nice, because for me anyway, I don't necessarily see the point of making the exact same thing that I made and showed digitally.
Yeah.
I mean, it is, the digital files are great because you can directly send them to factories and have those things produced by a factory, and that was what the technology was originally created for. So that's it's done its job in that sense. But when you work like we do, I think that there's a huge scope in the future for these programs to become a lot more creative in how they work and allow people to use more meters of fabric and create more unusual shapes. And I think at the moment they slow down a bit when you try and do something a bit strange.
Yeah.
So I think it's super interesting to have done it now, and then like if we did it again in 5 years, I think we'd have like a completely different experience, because obviously the technology, it's a bit like Photoshop 10 years ago. I always thought was like painfully difficult to use, and now it's not so bad, you know, like it's still not great, but it's not bad.
Didn't
Like,
you had like issues with your you were teamed up with Stacy, if I'm correct or not, as a
yeah,
digital designer? Yeah. Didn't you had like, because with her, of course, you really co-created the look. So for me, that was the moment I could see how this whole clothing works and how what this can be done, what can't be done. I did had a course in class very, very long time ago about clo, but nothing left of it anymore. So I thought I had some experience or knowledge, but no. But didn't you think that it was super? I was really lacking sometimes into like tools or skills such as Photoshop, indeed, to show her what I had in mind. Like, if you see the screenshot that I shared with Emily, like almost like it almost looks like I'm using paint, like with arrows like this. It's like
uh,
I felt so guilt. It was really, really weird.
yeah, I mean, we had issues with mine because um as with the name of the show, it's all about Catholic robes and those kind of things. And
Yeah.
the look that we did together was so big that it actually had to be made as three separate things, and then kind of put together by a bigger computer that could like manage the file size. So it was yeah, I think I gave them a bit of a headache with that especially, but it was great to work with someone and like you say, see the um see the process of it, because I think it was interesting in just the same way we have kind of like our fabric shears and our pivot tool and our foots for our sewing machines and all that stuff. They have all of their textures and their effects and their lighting and their files and all
Yeah.
this stuff, which you know, they kept saying this word texture, and I was like, what are you talking about? It's silk.
Yeah, I also had some super weird miscommunications. Um, oh, we're looking at a church now. So lovely. Is this also a little hint of your show in your collection, like the background that you have?
Yes, it is. It's a little glimpse into everything. But
um,
anyhow,
yeah,
I'm gonna have to leave you now because I have to go to the airport. But it was really lovely to speak to you.
It was really lovely to speak to you too, Patrick. Finally, we are seeing each other. We had contact, of course, already, but yes, good luck with the show.
Thank you. You
I will be
too.
watching.
Yay.
And take care and have a safe trip.
Thanks. I can't wait to see you too. Thanks so much, everyone, for watching.
Bye-bye.
Bye.